On Christmas morning, my parents handed me a $12 self-help book about growing up, while I calculated the $3,200 I'd secretly transferred for my sister's Barcelona trip the week before. The irony wasn't lost on me, the irresponsible daughter funding the golden child's dreams. I'm Emma, 32, and for the past 8 years, I've been my family's secret ATM. Over the years, there were countless smaller transfers too, textbook money, conference fees, even groceries when her stipend ran late. The $47,000 represents just the major expenses I tracked. What I didn't know that Christmas morning was that my financial support had become so essential to their lifestyle that cutting it off would trigger a family meltdown that would cost me everything I'd worked for. They'd already planted the seeds of my destruction without realizing it. The book's cover featured a cartoon woman in her 30s clutching a juice box while overdue bills fluttered around her head. The subtitle? Stop Being a Toddler in an Adult Body. It was the kind of passive-aggressive gift that would either break me or make me dangerous. My sister Amelia, golden child, future diplomat, owner of a LinkedIn profile that reads like a UN peacekeeping resume, unwrapped thick, cream-colored envelopes that practically radiated importance. Barcelona. Business class. Her third European research trip this year, funded by my parents' endless pride and my secret wire transfers that nobody bothered to acknowledge. We thought you deserved another opportunity to grow your international network, my dad said, sounding more like he was sending her on a peacekeeping mission than sponsoring another getaway. To help your career flourish. Then, as if it had just crossed her mind, my mother turned to me and added, "And maybe this book will help yours take off too." I smiled. I always smile when I'm choosing between crying, screaming, or laughing in a way that might get me committed. How thoughtful, I managed, turning the book over to read its promise to transform creative types into functional adults. This wasn't the first Christmas like this. Last year, Amelia received a brand new MacBook for school. I got a laminated to-do list for reorganizing the garage, written by hand in Comic Sans. The year before that, she got a professional photography session for her graduate applications. I got a lecture about finding direction and a gift card to Target. The pattern was always the same: expensive, thoughtful gifts that invested in Amelia's future and practical, dismissive ones that reminded me of my place as the family helper. But what they didn't know was the real story behind Amelia's success. It started 8 years ago when I was 24, fresh out of my education degree, working at Little Sprouts Kindergarten for $32,000 a year. Amelia called in tears. Her student visa renewal fee was $1,847, and she was 3 days from being forced to leave her graduate program. "Mom and Dad already helped so much," she sobbed. "I can't ask them again. I don't know what to do." I had exactly $2,100 in my savings account, money scraped together from teaching during the day and doing birthday parties on weekends. I transferred $1,900, keeping just $200 for emergencies. "Don't worry about paying me back," I told her. "Family helps family." She promised she would anyway. She never did. At 26, it was her study abroad application fees. $675 for the program, another $400 for required medical clearances. "Just until my scholarship money comes through," she promised. The scholarship never materialized, but somehow she went anyway. At 27, the big one, $4,200 for her semester in Geneva. At 29, the emergency that wasn't. Mom and Dad were temporarily short on their mortgage payment after helping Amelia with her thesis research expenses. They couldn't ask her to pay it back. She was already so stressed about graduation. Could I help just this once? $2,800 transferred the same day. By 30, I'd covered her job search costs in 3 different cities, including plane tickets for interviews and professional wardrobe updates. Investment in the family's future, Dad called it when Amelia finally landed her entry-level position in international relations. Every transfer came with the same internal rationalization. This is temporary. This is helping family. This is what good sisters do. This is investing in all of our futures. What I never admitted, even to myself, was that each payment bought me something too. The fantasy that I was valued, that my contribution mattered, that my financial support earned me a place at their table of respect. I was wrong. While my family saw me as their underachieving daughter who needed life lessons wrapped in passive-aggressive self-help books, I'd been quietly building something substantial. My day job teaching kindergarten barely covered my rent above a nail salon, but my weekend business had evolved into something extraordinary. It started simple: $75 birthday parties in suburban living rooms, me making balloon animals that looked more like abstract art than actual creatures. But parents kept calling back, referring friends, asking for bigger events. My weekend parties exploded from $75 living room gigs to $1,500 corporate contracts. The breakthrough: my first museum contract, $1,200 for one day of science magic that mesmerized 200+ kids. Word spread among parents hungry for real childhood wonder over screen time. While Amelia was networking at conferences I funded, I was building relationships with families who paid premium rates for authentic experiences. While she collected certificates in international relations, I was earning certifications in child development and small business management. The real revelation came at age 30 when I calculated my annual earnings: $67,000. More than my teaching salary and family contributions combined. I was pulling in weekend fees that exceeded many people's weekly paychecks, all while my family dismissed my work as playing dress up. I opened a business checking account under Enchanted Learning Experiences, LLC. Seeing that official paperwork felt like holding proof of my own competence, my own worth. But I never told them. Part of me enjoyed the secret, and part of me feared their reaction. In teaching kindergarten, I'd learned that only one anonymous phone call could destroy a teacher's career. I didn't know yet that the boundaries I was about to draw would make someone willing to make exactly that call. So when they handed me that book with its smug little cartoon woman throwing a tantrum, something inside me finally snapped. Not into anger, into clarity. I looked around our living room, at the tree I'd helped decorate while Amelia was too busy with work calls, at the homemade cookies I'd baked for everyone while she brought store-bought cranberry sauce that somehow got more praise than my rosemary roasted potatoes. My father had actually said, "Wow, Amelia, this cranberry sauce is delicious. Did you make it yourself?" She blinked. "No, I literally opened a can." He laughed like she'd told the joke of the year. "You've always been the practical one." I nearly choked on my potatoes. After dinner, I offered to help clean up. My mom handed me a trash bag and said, "You've always been good at this stuff. That's what I admire about you. You're not too proud to do the little jobs." I wanted to ask what they thought my actual job was. If taking care of 25 preschoolers and keeping them from biting, gluing, or beating each other with toy dinosaurs wasn't real enough, then what was? But I didn't, because I knew the answer. They didn't see me as grown. They saw me as dependable, cheerful, silly, the helper, the extra set of hands. I wasn't ambitious. I wasn't important. I was nice, and nice people in this family got assigned cleanup duty. That night, lying in my tiny rented room, listening to the neighbors' late-night television bleeding through thin walls, I made a decision that would change everything. I got up, brushed glitter off my floor, occupational hazard, sat down at my desk, and began drafting messages that would set me free. The first message went to Amelia. "Hi. After a lot of reflection, I'll be stepping back from regular babysitting starting in the new year. I love being a Lodi's aunt, but I need my weekends for my own business and well-being. Also, I'll no longer be contributing to your educational or travel expenses. I have my own future to plan for. I believe in your dreams and know you'll find a way to make them happen. Love you." The second went to my parents. "Thank you for the book. It really made me think about what growing up means to me. I'm excited to continue building my career and establishing better boundaries. Looking forward to seeing how we all grow in the new year." Both messages were kind, clear, and final. I hit send on both, then closed my laptop and went to sleep for the first time in years without wondering who might need my financial help tomorrow. By morning, my phone looked like it had been attacked by a family emergency. 6 missed calls, 3 voicemails. A group text from my mother that said, "We're very surprised. This feels out of character. Please reconsider for the sake of the family." Out of character. That phrase sat in my chest like a stone. You know what else was out of character? Expecting your daughter to quietly fund her sister's international education while treating her like a permanent child who needed self-help books about basic life skills. I didn't respond that day or the next. Natural consequences, they'd always been big on those when I was little. Seemed fair to let them experience some. The calls escalated quickly. My father left a voicemail that started with, "We're deeply hurt," and ended with implications that I was abandoning family values. His voice carried that particular tone he used when disappointed, the same one from when I was 7 and wanted to be a fairy instead of something practical. "Emma, this sudden selfishness is really concerning your mother and me. We raised you better than this. Amelia depends on family support to build her career. This affects everyone, not just you." My mother tried a different approach, showing up at my workplace wearing her full winter coat and disappointment like armor. "I'm not mad, just disappointed," she said, standing in the hallway of Little Sprouts Kindergarten, eyes scanning our crayon-drawn whales and construction paper owls like she was looking for evidence of criminal activity. "Your sister is very upset. She says you're being cold, and I have to agree. I know you enjoy this environment." She gestured vaguely at a display of handprint turkeys, "but maybe it's time to think about the bigger picture. You're not a teenager anymore." I looked down at the glue stick in my hand, still warm from helping my students create their masterpieces. Around us, 5-year-olds worked quietly on art projects, completely absorbed in their creativity. "You know what's funny?" I said. "Every day I tell my kids that their feelings matter, that they deserve respect, that it's okay to say no, and I really believe that even if I have sparkles on my pants while I'm saying it." She stared at me like I'd just recited Shakespeare in ancient Greek. "I'm not being cold," I continued. "I'm being clear. That's what growing up means: setting limits, protecting your peace, choosing how you want to live, and abandoning your family." Her voice rose slightly, enough that Miss Jennifer from the 3-year-old room glanced over. "No," I said, walking back toward my classroom because snack time was sacred and my kids didn't judge me for refusing to fund European vacations. "Just stepping out of unpaid servitude." The phone calls continued for 2 weeks, but none of them asked why I'd made this decision. None of them questioned what might have led me to set these boundaries. They only focused on how my choices inconvenienced them. The weeks that followed were tense and revealing. No requests for babysitting, no casual mentions of Amelia's upcoming expenses. Just silence, punctuated by increasingly desperate attempts to make me reconsider. Amelia's tone shifted from hurt to practical panic as her carefully budgeted plans began falling apart. The Geneva application required a $2,400 deposit by February 1st. Her emergency fund had apparently been based entirely on my continued contributions. She called me on a Thursday evening, voice tight with stress. "Emma, I need to be honest. I've been counting on your help for the Geneva program. Without it, I might have to defer for a year, and you know how competitive these international positions are." "I understand that's stressful," I replied, stirring pasta sauce for my dinner. "But I'm sure you'll figure out another solution." "Another solution? Emma, there is no other solution. Mom and Dad are already stretched thin from helping with my current program. I can't get approved for more student loans. This is my career we're talking about." The entitlement in her voice was breathtaking. 8 years of my financial support, and she'd never once considered that I might have my own career to build, my own dreams to fund. "Have you considered a part-time job?" I asked. Silence. Then, "You know I can't work while I'm in school. It would affect my GPA." "I worked 3 jobs while earning my degree." "That's different. Your degree was in education." The way she said education, like it was something cute but ultimately insignificant, told me everything I needed to know about how my family viewed my choices. The real test came with Elodie's 2nd birthday. Instead of an invitation, I got a Facebook post. My niece in a bouncy castle, holding a cake twice her size, while Amelia and Marcus posed in coordinated pastels. The caption read, "Some families are born, others show up." I wasn't tagged. Neither was anyone from my side of the family who dared to support my boundary setting. I stared at that post for a long time, really processing its passive-aggressive message. Then I got up, pulled out my phone, and started making calls. By the following weekend, I'd organized my own celebration for Elodie. I booked the community center, called in favors from parents whose kids I'd taught, and created the kind of magical experience I was actually known for. We had puppet shows, face painting, a bubble machine, and yes, lots of glitter. Elodie arrived in the sparkly tutu I'd sewn for her, eyes wide with delight as she took in the wonderland I'd created. "Fairy party," she squealed, running straight into my arms. For 3 hours, I watched my niece experience pure joy. We made crowns, sang songs, played magical games where everyone was a winner. The other children, kids from my classes whose parents had become my friends, treated Elodie like the guest of honor she was. At the end, she hugged me so hard I thought I'd fall over. "Best birthday ever," she whispered against my ear. "That's what aunties are for," I replied. "Magic with no strings attached." Several parents lingered after cleanup, helping me pack decorations and commenting on how special the day had been. "This is what childhood should look like," said Maria, whose daughter Sophia was in my kindergarten class. "Pure imagination and joy." "You have such a gift, Emma." Another parent, David, mentioned that his company was looking for someone to coordinate their annual family picnic. "After seeing this, I know exactly who to recommend. Would you be interested in a corporate contract?" I was very interested. The trouble started 3 days later with a voice note from Elodie's iPad to Amelia. It was barely 10 seconds long, my niece's tiny voice yelling, "Fairy party, fairy party. No boring party, no boring cake," with my laughter barely audible in the background. Elodie had been reenacting her birthday weekend nonstop, running around in the sparkly tutu, holding up a glitter wand, demanding more sparkles, and asking where the singing dragon went. Amelia didn't take it well. First came vague texts. "She's confused. Keeps talking about your party like it was the real one. Not helpful." Then escalation. "Elodie keeps asking for you and calling our party boring. This is not okay. You've completely undermined us as parents." I didn't respond to either message, but the situation reached a breaking point when my boss, Mrs. Peterson, called me into her office on a Monday morning. "Emma, I need to ask you about something sensitive." We received a call Friday afternoon from someone asking if any children had ever been removed from our premises without proper authorization by a staff member. My blood went cold. What kind of call? They claimed to be investigating a potential safety concern involving unauthorized child supervision. They didn't give specifics, but they were asking about you specifically. I knew immediately what had happened. "Mrs. Peterson, I hosted my niece's birthday party last weekend with her parents' full written consent. I have all the text messages proving it." She nodded. "I figured it was something like that. I told them we don't discuss personnel matters with anonymous callers and that any legitimate concerns should be submitted in writing through proper channels. But Emma, I need to see those messages." I pulled up my phone immediately, showing her the entire text thread with Amelia. "Emma, hey, confirming Elodie's party this Saturday. Same drop-off time as we discussed?" Amelia, "Yes, 11 a.m. works. Just keep it simple, no need to go overboard." Emma, "All set, I'll text you the community center address." Amelia, "Perfect. Thanks again for doing this. All of it time-stamped, all of it crystal clear." Mrs. Peterson reviewed everything carefully. "This is exactly what I need. Emma, between you and me, that phone call felt like someone fishing for problems that don't exist. You're one of our most professional teachers, and this documentation shows you handled everything appropriately." But the damage was already seeded. That afternoon, my father left a voicemail that made my hands shake. "You know, we could have filed a complaint with the school district about this unauthorized party situation. We chose not to. Think about that." Think about that. I did think about it. While I screenshotted every text message, saved every receipt, and documented every piece of evidence proving I'd done absolutely nothing wrong. That evening, I sat in my small apartment surrounded by craft supplies and business paperwork, staring at an email that would change everything. The Children's Museum had responded to my proposal for their summer education series. "Dear Ms. Emma, we're delighted to accept your proposal for Science Magic Adventures. The board was unanimously impressed with your portfolio and references. The contract value is $25,000 for the 6-month series, with potential for renewal based on attendance and feedback." $25,000. More than I used to make in an entire year teaching. More than I'd sent Amelia over 2 years combined. I signed the contract right there in my craft room, surrounded by glitter and puppet supplies, while my phone buzzed with another gilt-laced text from my mother about family loyalty. For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly, completely grown up. The next morning, I composed one final message to my family group chat. "Since there seems to be confusion about my recent decisions, let me be clear. I've been quietly funding Amelia's education and opportunities for 8 years to the tune of over $47,000. I've provided free childcare equivalent to thousands more. I run a successful business that just landed a major museum contract worth $25,000. I'm not having a breakdown or acting irresponsibly. I'm simply choosing to invest in my own future instead of everyone else's. If anyone has questions about my decision-making abilities, I'm happy to share my business portfolio and financial records. Otherwise, please respect my boundaries as you would any other adult family member. I hit send, then turned off my phone and spent the day planning dragon puppet workshops for children who saw me exactly as I was: magical, professional, and completely grown up. The false inquiry about my workplace was the final straw. I documented everything and sent it all to Amelia with a firm message. Since I'm hearing suggestions that I took a Lodi without permission, I've attached complete records of your written consent to the party. If my workplace receives another false inquiry, or if these accusations continue, I'll be consulting legal counsel. I love Elodie, but I will not tolerate being slandered for providing exactly what you approved. She didn't respond, but my mother did. This is family, not court. You're being cold again. Always cold. Never wronged, never justified, just cold. But something beautiful happened in the aftermath. Other family members started reaching out with support I'd never expected. My uncle called, the good one who'd once brought me cake on a random Tuesday just because, and said, "Everyone's talking about your mom's group message. It's ridiculous. We all know who the responsible one really is." My cousin messaged privately, "I saw the party photos on Maria's Facebook. Elodie looked so happy. You're amazing with her, and honestly, it's about time you stopped letting them take advantage." Even one of Amelia's friends reached out. "I know it's not my place, but the way they've been talking about you at dinner parties isn't okay. What you did sounds completely reasonable. If you ever need someone to back up your side of the story, I'm here." That weekend, my phone didn't stop ringing, but for the first time, it was with opportunities instead of obligations. 3 new party bookings from parents who'd seen photos from a Lodi's celebration. A referral for a corporate contract worth $3,500. An invitation to speak at the Regional Early Childhood Education Conference about creative learning through play. One mother said, "We've done the usual bounce house and clown routine, but this feels like actual magic. My daughter hasn't stopped talking about the fairy science experiment you did." Maybe that was the difference. Amelia's original party had been Pinterest perfect: coordinated balloons, expensive cake, hired photographers capturing posed moments. Mine had been messy, homemade, loud, glorious, and completely real. A week later, I found a letter in my mailbox. Amelia's handwriting, careful and measured. "Emma, I overreacted completely. I was scared seeing Elodie so happy without me, and I took that fear out on you. You didn't do anything wrong. You gave her a beautiful celebration that I should have been grateful for. I'm sorry for the workplace call. That was petty and wrong. I'm sorry for assuming you'd always be available financially and personally. I took advantage of your generosity for years without recognizing how much you were sacrificing. If you want distance, I understand. But if you ever want to see Elodie again, I hope you'll let me know. I'll work harder to deserve your forgiveness." I read it twice, sitting on my couch with a cup of tea, processing the first genuine apology I'd received from anyone in my family. I didn't forgive her immediately. That kind of healing takes time and consistent change. But I did write back. "Thank you for apologizing. I love Elodie and will always want to be part of her life, but I won't participate in a family dynamic that turns love into leverage or treats boundaries as betrayal. If we're going to rebuild anything, it has to start with honest communication and mutual respect. I'm open to that when you're ready." She never responded to that letter directly, but 3 weeks later I received a video message that melted my heart: Elodie dancing in the tutu I'd made her, twirling in circles while glitter sparkled around her like stardust. At the end of the clip, she stopped mid-spin, looked into the camera, and waved. "I love my fairy auntie," she said simply. I didn't cry. I smiled. Because I no longer felt the need to defend myself, my choices, or my worth to anyone. It's been 5 years since that Christmas morning. Elodie is 7 now, chatty, creative, currently convinced she's part unicorn, part scientist. I see her regularly, but now I charge my professional rates for babysitting, scheduled in advance with clear expectations. Amelia finished her degree the hard way: loans, part-time work, saying no to unpaid opportunities. It was tough, but she managed. She's working now in a position that's not glamorous or international, but it's hers. Our relationship is cautious but honest. My parents faced immediate consequences. Dad's retirement got postponed indefinitely. Mom returned to work at 58. When Amelia moved closer to Marcus's family for support, they lost their primary grandparent role. Their perfect family narrative crumbled. Meanwhile, Enchanted Learning Experiences LLC exceeded every dream. 2-month waiting lists, $127,000 last year, featured in Parents Magazine. I bought my own house with a professional studio. My clients value creativity and pay accordingly. Sometimes I think about that Christmas morning, $3, $200 transferred while holding a $12 book. I trained them to take advantage by never setting limits. Growing up meant choosing myself without guilt. Last month, I attended Amelia's engagement party, not as free help, but as an equal guest. Driving home, I realized I was there by choice, not obligation. The last text from my mother: "Elodie drew you with fairy wings." Her teacher asked if you were real or imaginary. We said real. I didn't respond, but I smiled. I am real. I'm successful, respected, and finally grown up, just not how they expected. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well and setting boundaries. I chose myself, and it turns out I was worth choosing all along.